In 1552, a rather peculiar manuscript surfaced in the city of Augsburg, one full of strange, lavish, and outlandish illustrations. These images depicted all sorts of bizarre phenomena, from shooting stars and fatal floods to swarms of locusts and terrifying monsters. The manuscript contained stories of ancient folklore, the Old Testament, and the Book of Revelation, visions that were spectacular, eerie, and prophetic, foretelling unavoidable dread and disaster. And, of course, no medieval book of horrors would be complete without the apocalypse and the inevitable end of days. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. While many of the illustrations were confusing, most were unique, creative, and unsettling in a nightmare fuel sort of way. So join me as we dive into the Book of Miracles, an experience that can only be described as the Renaissance equivalent of an acid trip. The manuscript was originally titled the Augsburg Book of Miraculous Signs, later shortened to the Book of Miracles when it was translated and published in English, French, and German in 2013. The creator of the book remains unknown, but it's evident they were a passionate collector of the Middle Ages' strangest artistic representations. These illustrations offer insight into 16th century Europe and its growing obsession with divine signs. The concept of omens and prophecy, however, is nothing new. As far back as classical antiquity, the ancient Greeks and Romans interpreted celestial events as messages from the gods. In ancient Greece, Homer discussed the behavior of birds and weather changes, rainbows and thunder, as divine signs. The Romans called these prodigium or prodigy, often negative and foreboding catastrophe. The Book of Prodigies, created in the 4th century AD by Julius Obsequens, documented events from 249 BC to 11 BC. It resurfaced during the Renaissance, a time of religious upheaval marked by the Reformation and the split between Roman Catholics and Protestants. Both factions used divine signs to support their respective ideologies, making the republishing of this ancient text a timely success. The imagery of prophecy from the Bible also played a key role. The Augsburg Book of Miracles mirrors the Bible's structure, beginning with the Old Testament and ending with Revelation. From the 15th and 16th centuries onward, works similar to the Book of Prodigies began appearing in Europe. One major influence was Sebastian Brandt, known for writing about monsters and astronomical events in early forms of newspapers called broadsheets. These were followed by manuscripts compiling miraculous signs across Central Europe, where concern about divine omens grew, fueled by interest in astrological prophecy. Authors attempted to predict world events using celestial positions and comet sightings. With the rise of illustrated broadsheets, pamphlets, and early news media, these images spread further and faster than ever. In July 1490, George Glockenden published a broadsheet showing a celestial event near Constantinople. The image depicted a three-headed armored knight holding a winged maiden with a lion's lower body and a serpent's tail, standing on two shields marked with the letter W. This vision may relate to the northern lights or meteorological phenomena, though the meaning remains elusive. Like many illustrations in the Book of Miracles, it includes an image, a brief event description, and a vague interpretation that ultimately defers to divine mystery. It ends, like others, with a call for repentance. So, what was the purpose of the Book of Miracles? Why compile and illustrate these strange signs? The book aimed to document miraculous events throughout history, starting with the Old Testament and continuing through antiquity and the Middle Ages, concluding with the Book of Revelation. It served as a visual catalog of divine omens from the dawn of civilization to the foretold apocalypse, a growing fear at the time of its creation. The first stories are familiar biblical accounts. The book opens with the Great Flood and Noah's Ark, followed by the double rainbow, symbolizing God's covenant with humanity. Then come the zodiac signs, representing the 12 months. Peace is shattered with the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, cities razed by God for their wickedness. Many Old Testament illustrations reflect prophetic visions. Elijah ascending in a chariot, Daniel's vision of four beasts symbolizing doomed kingdoms, and Ezekiel's final vision. In the Antiquity section, things get stranger. The golden ball, or Roman fireball of 76 BC, shows a golden orb descending from the sky, rolling on the ground, then rising again to block the sun. This preceded a Roman civil war. While scholars disagreed on its nature, some calling it a shooting star or fireball, NASA couldn't chiefly explain the object rising back into the sky. Other sun-related illustrations include a golden halo around the sun on the day of the Nativity and collapsing Roman landmarks, symbolic of turbulent times. In 938 AD, Venice experienced sudden deaths following sightings of a sun that appeared to sweat blood. The Five Suns of Leipzig, recorded on March 21, 1551, describes multiple suns seen in the sky. Outside of the usual celestial bodies, the Book of Miracles includes inexplicable visions. In 1553, over Strasbourg, a bloody swordsman defended a fiery citadel from horse-mounted enemies. In 1536, Medina, Spain witnessed a surreal battle in the sky involving three children, one of the Book C.'s more bizarre illustrations. On May 17, 1552, a severe storm struck the city of Dordrecht. Hailstones weighing several pounds fell for half an hour, accompanied by a noxious stench, convincing locals that Judgment Day had arrived. In 1546, in Mechelen, fire from the sky struck a gunpowder building, causing an explosion that destroyed half the city. Augsburg had a similar event in 1542, where celestial fire burned in the sky like a torch, an image featured on the book's cover. In 2009 A.D., a darkened sun, likely an eclipse, a blood-red moon, and an earthquake preceded a burning torch falling from the sky, followed by a famine that decimated Germany and Italy. Blood moons and eclipses appear multiple times in the book, often followed by earthquakes. While modern science can explain these phenomena, for people centuries ago, such events suggested the end of the world. Earlier, we mentioned the book's inclusion of monsters from folklore. In 1533, dragons wearing crowns flew over Bohemia. In Venice, 1534, fishermen caught a creature resembling a hydra. The monster of Salzburg, a hairy, clawed, man-faced beast, may have inspired legends like Krampus, though some suggest it was a misidentified sloth. The Tiber monster, found after a flood near Rome, had the torso of a human, donkey's head, a face on its rear, and a serpent's tail. The image mirrored a satirical Protestant broadsheet by Lucas Cranach the Elder, used as propaganda during the Reformation to depict the Pope as a demonic beast. In October 1527, a comet appeared over Westrich, Germany. It was long, reddish-yellow, with a sword-wielding arm at the head and stars that trailed behind. The next page showed a variation with tiny swords, javelins, and bearded faces in the clouds. It was said to be so terrifying that it killed those who saw it. Comets were widely feared and seen as omens of disaster. Despite modern understanding, ancient and Renaissance civilizations viewed them with dread. The Book of Miracles ends with visions of the apocalypse from Revelation. The four horsemen arrive. Trumpets are blown. Fire and blood rain from the skies. A star called wormwood poisons the rivers. A third of the sun, moon, and stars darken. Locusts swarm the earth. 4 angels are unleashed to kill a third of mankind. A 7-headed beast emerges from the sea, led by the Antichrist. In one illustration, Catholic figures, including the Pope, worship this monster, reinforcing the belief that the book's author was likely Protestant. The final scene shows the fall of Babylon, a city symbolic of sin and evil. Ultimately, the Book of Miracles offers a fascinating, bizarre, and revealing look into the beliefs and fears of people centuries ago. The recurring theme is the fear of the unknown. Today, thanks to science, we understand eclipses, meteors, and natural disasters. But without that knowledge, these were terrifying mysteries. For past civilizations, they were signs from God, warnings of judgment and doom. And while not knowing is scary, being told the world is ending may have been even more terrifying. Still, for fans of cosmic horror, sometimes the unknown is the scariest thing of all.